has a purpose. Our laws have a purpose, and the stories that go along with them have a purpose. And neither one is less important for helping us to understand. Whenever you wanted to be able to interpret something, you had to have someone interpret it. For example, let's say that you have this law from Moses. Moses comes along and he says, okay, well, God has said that we have to keep the Sabbath holy. You say, okay, well, how do we do that? Well, that was the job of the Levites, the priests, and the rabbis. They were the interpreters. And so they helped you to understand those laws. And they would use all kinds of tools. One of those tools that they would use are the stories of the Bible. Another tool they would use was called oral Torah. It was called Agadah. Now, Agadah was any kind of stories, including parables, sermons, jokes. And so a rabbi or a Levite would come and they would teach you by using stories to help you to understand how you're supposed to keep the Sabbath holy. Now, each rabbi sometimes had their own interpretation. And so some might say, well, I think it's a good idea, in order to keep the Sabbath holy, to not go fishing. And they say, because if you go fishing, then you got to get baits, you got to kill a worm, and you got to catch a fish, and you got to reel it in, and you got to cut it, you cook it. It's work, so you shouldn't do that on the Sabbath. Now, another rabbi might come along and say, no, I completely disagree with what you're telling me. Or telling them, because fishing is peaceful. I mean, if you want some peace, if you want some rest, you go fishing. So I teach people, this rabbi would say, that you should go fishing on the Sabbath. Those were two interpretations. They would call them heresies. Now today, if somebody says, that's a heresy, it means, that you're voting for the wrong guy, right? But what it to them was, it was a different view. Just that's it. It's a different view. Nothing to offend you. It wasn't, you're such a terrible person because you think that way. It was, oh, okay, here's a heresy over here. Let's hear what this rabbi has to say. Now, whenever this was happening, the rabbis would have this language that they would use. And they would say, we don't want to abolish Torah. Okay, so they might use that word, abolish. Instead, we want to fulfill it. And the way you either abolish it or fulfill it is how you interpret it. So, if a rabbi were to come to you and was teaching, and somebody said, oh, I don't think what you're teaching us is right, you might hear something like, I did not come to abolish the Torah, but to fulfill it. Not one yod, and the King James Version says tittle, and this could be even jot, okay? Or tittle will be removed. I'm not removing a single thing. I'm not abolishing it, but I'm fulfilling it. Now, what we decided sometimes, and some of our understandings about this abolish thing, is what we think is said by Jesus when he says this is, I didn't come to get rid of the Torah, but to do all the stuff in it so y'all don't have to. And so sometimes we hear that and think, well, that's what it means. We just don't have to do anything. Because Jesus fulfilled it. But what he was saying is, this is rabbinic language, for I did not come to misinterpret what God wants us to do, but to correctly interpret what God wants us to do. Because if you wanted your followers to fulfill the Torah, you would tell them how to obey the Sabbath. And then if they obeyed the Sabbath the way you said, they were fulfilling it. They were living it as God would have them live. if you told them something that caused that mitzvah to be broken, then you have taught them how to abolish Torah. So what would happen is, if you were a teacher, and you were teaching, you said, I think really that on the Sabbath, I think that if you're a person who just really likes to work and you love your job and you just really want to make a lot of money, never rest. Just work all the time. Then another teacher would come up and say, oh, we just abolished Torah. If that person follows what you said, they won't live the way of God. They'll live in opposition of the way of God. What this means has to do with this tiny little spur. Actually, it's the smallest letter, the Yod, in the Hebrew language, which is kind of tiny. And then there's this decorative spur that was the tip. Now, it means, it actually means spur or thorn. Okay? And the reason why he says neither one of this will be removed is because, I'll show you in just a second. In fact, I want you to know what this is. This is in Hebrew, it's coats. But the reason why he says, I'm not going to remove it yod or its spur. Nothing is going to be removed. Now, let me show you how important that is. If I were to write this word, this word is a noun. This word is a verb. This is tava, or tevet, and this is chava. This is a box, an ark, a chest, a basket. This means to hide. All I have to do is add this coats, and it changes the whole. Jesus said, I'm not going to do nothing, not even a tiny little speck on a letter is going to change. Because when you change the tiny speck, you change the word. It has powerful implications. You say, I'm not changing a thing. I'm preserving. If you will listen to me, you will live according to the way God would have you live.